So, welcome to all the BSc first year students, semester second. In the last class, we have seen that is a complete life cycle of Selaginella. So, the different aspects regarding the external or morphological characteristics, external characteristics of Selaginella. So, that is root, stem, and leaf. Externally, what are the different parts of Selaginella? Then internally, what are the different parts of stem, root and leaf? Then what type of vascular bundles are there in case of Selaginella? Then how it multiplies or reproduces by Selaginella? So there are certain important points which are explained while explaining the life cycle of Selaginella. That is, presence of ligule is an important characteristic of Selaginella. So the leaves are slightly developed, spirally arranged. At the base of each leaf there is a presence of a tongue-shaped structure that is known as ligule. Then fertile sporophylls are organized into a specific structure is known as cone, and negatively geotropic, a colorless rhizome which grows towards the soil, and at the tip of where there is a contact of that rhizome, there is a formation of adventitious roots. So monopodial branching and dichotomous branching is an important characteristics of Selaginella. Another important characteristics of Selaginella is heterospory nature, megaspores and microspores, the formation of megaspores and microspores. What are the megasporangium? What are the microsporangium? Where they are present? So these things are what is the heterospory nature of Selaginella. All these things we have seen in the last class. So while discussing the internal structure, the TS of stem of Selaginella, so there are again certain points we have to remember, that is air chambers, trabeculae, and a type of stele which is present in the Selaginella. This much is very important with regards to Selaginella. Now, as per your syllabus, whatever the syllabus which has been mentioned for this second semester, so there are two bits that have been mentioned for this paper, that is Bryophyta and Pteridophyta. In Bryophyta, there are only two examples that have mentioned for your syllabus to study of their complete life cycle. Already we have completed that one. And in case of Pteridophyta, there have been mentioned 5 examples in which you have to study the complete life cycle of each example. Already we have covered, that is Xylotum, Lycopodium and Selaginella. So remaining these two examples, that is Equisetum and Marsilia. So these two examples have been remained. Within 2 to 3 periods I will complete all these things, and after that the last bit of this paper is, that is stellar evolution in case of pteridophytes. In case of Pteridophyta, stellar evolution. So what are the different types of steles present in Pteridophyta in different examples? So these things are there, and as per my knowledge, your practical exams is going to be conducted on 29th of July. So the practical exams are also online exams are there, and after that in the first week of August there will be a final examination or theory examination. They are also only online. There is no offline examination will be conducted by university. So you have to remember these things. So while explaining the Equisetum, first of all you have to give the classification. Then here also you have to be give the occurrence where or habitat where it occurs, then external or plant body structure of equisetum, then internal structure of stem, rhizome, leaves, and strobilus. Then multiplication, how it multiplies. So these things are very important. Today I'm not going to be explain in detail. Just I want to give a slight idea, or certain important points of equisetum. Equisetum is commonly known as a horsetail. It is commonly known as a horsetail. Why it is called as a horsetail? Because the aerial parts or the aerial branches of equisetum appears like just a tail of horse. Therefore, it is known as horsetail. Commonly it is known as horsetail. So there are certain species of equisetum are also, they are growing in a soil, they absorb minerals, and there are certain species are there which absorbs gold. Therefore they are also known as golden plants. So they are one of the most important indicator of the presence of ores in a particular area. So they are the important indicators of presence of ores or minerals in that particular area. So there are the sporophytic plant body of equisetum. The sporophytic plant body of equisetum is well developed, diploid one, and it is mainly differentiated into two important parts, that is rhizome parts and aerial parts. So the rhizome part is a perennial one. And aerial parts, which is grow above the ground level, is an annual one. So here again the aerial parts of the plant body of the sporophyte of equisetum is again fertile and sterile one. So there are different species. There are various species of equisetum. The order Equisetae is having only one example, that is equisetum. Therefore, it is also known as a living fossil. This is the only one living fossil of order Equisetaes. Living fossil of the order Equisetaes. The most of the species of equisetum prefers to grow on a moist, shady places, on the banks of rivers or canals. And there are certain species shows a xerophytic characteristics. There are certain species shows a xerophytic characteristics. So in most of the species of equisetum, the aerial parts, the stem or the aerial parts, whether it may be sterile or fertile one, is differentiated into nodes and internodes. Aerial parts is differentiated into nodes and internodes, and similarly the rhizome, which is growing on the surface of the ground or in the ground, it is also differentiated into nodes and internodes, which is colorless one. And the aerial parts of the plant body, having the cells of the aerial parts of the plant body contains a chlorophyll pigments or chloroplasts. Therefore they appears green in color. So at the nodal region, each nodal region, there is a presence of a whorl of small structures, spiny structures, scaly leaves which are colorless one. So there is a presence of a small tongue-like or hair-like structure which is colorless one. There is a scaly leaves, and there are certain ridges, and in most of the species of equisetum, their external walls are deposited with silica. Therefore, they their surface are very rough one. The plant body surface is rough one, rough in appearance. So these are some of the important points while explaining the external characteristics. And the fertile branches at their terminal end are having a specific structure that is known as strobulus or cone. Strobulus or cone. So that strobulus or cone is a reproductive body. Therefore, it is known as a fertile branch. So while studying the external characteristics, all the aerial branches are hollow in nature. So therefore, while taking the transverse section or internal structure of the aerial parts or aerial branches of equisetum, we will find certain peculiar characteristics in the stem, rhizome, and roots also. On the rhizome, there is a presence of certain small rounded bodies which act as a vegetative reproductive bodies. So these are some of the important points. That is, the plant body is differentiated into rhizome and aerial parts. The aerial branches are again at the nodal region. There is a presence of a number of small whorl of branches, which is again differentiated into nodes and internodes. The main branch, on that main branch, again there is a formation of whorl branches. The whorl branches are again differentiated into nodes and internodes, and at each nodal region there is a presence of scaly leaves. The hollow nature is another important characteristics. The deposition of epidermal wall of each branches of silica is another important characteristics. So these are some of the external characteristics of equisetum. Now, while studying the internal structure of rhizome, then aerial branches, while taking the transverse section, the outer epidermal layer, there is a presence of sunken stomata, and the cortex consists of outer and inner cortex. The outer cortex is made up of from collenchyma tissues, and inner cortex is made up of from parenchyma or sclerenchyma tissues. So due to the hollow nature, there is a presence of a certain small cavities in the cortex. So these cavities are nothing but valvular canals. They are commonly known as valvular canal. So here you have to remember internally, when studying the internal structure of aerial branches of equisetum or stem of equisetum, there is a presence of valvular canals in the cortex, and after the inner cortex, there is a presence of endodermis. Inner to the endodermis, there is a presence of xylem and phloem. So in case of equisetum stem, the protoxylem get crushed, and again there is a formation of small cavities, and these cavities are known as carinal canals. They are known as carinal canals, and at the center there is a presence of pith. The hollow pith is there. So there is here also there is a presence of protostele. So while explaining the internal characteristics of equisetum, you have to remember the important points, that is presence of collenchyma, then valvular canals, carinal canals, and hollow pith and sunken stomata. So these are the important points while explaining the internal characteristics of equisetum stem. Similarly, while taking the transverse section of rhizome, the same types of tissues are observed. There is a slight difference. There is no presence of collenchyma tissues while explaining the internal structure of rhizome. Now after that you have to be go through to the reproduction or multiplication, the structure of Strobilus or cone of equisetum. Here you have to be explain the main axis. So the lateral dumbbell-shaped structure, and in that dumbbell-shaped structure, on the abaxial side of these dumbbell-shaped structures, there is a presence of a sac-like structures. They are known as sporangium. In that sporangium, there is a presence of spores. The homospory nature is an important characteristic of equisetum. So these are some of the important points. Again, when these spores falls on a suitable substratum, germinates and gives rise to a gametophytic plants, gametophytic plants on which there is a formation of antheridium and oogonium, then male gametes, female gametes, fertilization, zygote. From that zygote, again there is a formation of sporophytic plants. In this way, there is a completion of life cycle of equisetum. So this is a broad description of external and internal characteristics of equisetum, and there are certain important points which are related with equisetum I have mentioned here. With this today I am going to be stop here. Thank you one and all. Tomorrow I am going to be explain again the same things with figure. Thank you one and all.